Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Cao Yang, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested in migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on the side, so once about all the updates and news, you'll be the first one getting all the insight. Now, as we know that there has been a new skill occupation list, so-called the CSOL, has been announced and it's all official now. So it's one of the piece of the skill occupation required for all the employment sponsored visas, and that's the subclass 4A2. That's the skills in demand, but also applies to 1A6 visa. So a lot of people has been asking for some updated 1A6 visas for its regulation. It's not much to change, but this video we would like to renew it. So the last time we did it, I think, was back in 2023 or 22. So let's have a updated review on the 1A6 visa on both the TRT and also the DE streams. I will do a specific video for the TRT and the DE in the coming future anyway. So this is more generic, cover everything about subclass 1A6. So let's have a look. If you wanted to, everyone wanted to find a job, again, employee gets sponsored by an Australian employer, you will enter into an agreement and get into a 4A2 visa. Now it's so-called the SID visa, skills in demand visa. And once you get that, that's not the end of the story, because you ultimately want to become a permanent resident. So currently there's a TRT stream that you can see that on the screen on the right up there. TRT, temporary resident transition stream, basically means once you hold a 4A2 visa and have been working for 2 years, you will be eligible to transfer into a permanent resident under what? Under the subclass 1A6 employment nomination scheme visa. So this is very important, because you don't want to be always been working and not holding a permanent residency. I think that's the goal and the result that everybody wish for. And we're also going to talk about the direct entry stream. That means you may not, if you can find a good employer, and provided your professional skill is so good, they probably will sponsor you through a direct entry stream. That means you will not go through a 4A2 and 2 years work experiences accrue in Australia. You will get the direct permanent residency. That's even better, isn't it? But it does have a further requirement there. So and we would not talk about the labor agreement, basically because the labor agreement will be the same as usually will be almost identical with the TRT, but labor agreement usually have a specific agreed criteria between the immigration and the specific region of the council, or a specific industry, for example the meat industry, but we were not gonna talk about this one because they are looking into transfer into essential, so-called essential stream. But anyhow, that will be coming up in the future. So first of all, let's go into the TRT. So shall we? So that's a temporary residence transition stream. That means the applicant has been holding the 4A2 visa and working for the employer for 24 months at least in order to actually do this visa. So as you can see down here, it says you must hold the visa. Now, I don't think there's still anyone holding 457. The reason they said that you still got bridging visa ABC is because I don't think in the future there will be anyone like this, because they will be people who may hold a very short term 4A2 visa. For example, in the previous form in the TTS form, there is a short term and medium long term. The short term can only get 2 years. So obviously you cannot meet 2 years straight away, right at the time sharp, and then lodge 186 visa. You're required to lodge another extended 482 visa, and while you're holding the extended visa, usually, as you know, the Department of Immigration is not that efficient. They usually take months to actually approve and process and assess your visa application. So whilst you're holding bridging visa A, B, C during that time, you can actually apply for 186. That's basically what it meant. Usually I've been working for 2 years full time, have been nominated by Australian employer, nominated, approved in the Australian employer whose nomination was approved in this. So let's jump in there and have a look at the we will toggle right up there, the little toggle. If you're in the website, immigration website, you can do it yourself. So that's little thing there. Let's toggle to the sponsor. So there's a fee required, and they require the sponsor to pay for the Skilling Australian Fund again. So not going to go into the detail of how much that is. You may want to click in there and check it out, but it's more for the employer to pay. So anyhow, now eligibility. All right, so it does have to be a legible business. That's pretty straightforward. So it's a legal, lawful, operational business. It's not something that's being shut down under administration, bankrupt, and things like that. So that's pretty straightforward. You need to pay. Again, they put that highlighted, so you need to, the employer need to pay genuine pay, okay, for the employee, and the business must be able to offer a skill, a position for another 2 years. That means you need to enter renew another contract for another 2 years. That's basically what it meant. So they don't want you to get a visa and then you just escape. Some people do that because they had enough with this employer. Once I finish the work, once I get a PR, I'm gonna leave. Now we'll leave that another video. If you really hate your employer, what do you do? I'll do another video on that one. Okay. Now have a skill position. Usually they will. Now here it says the nominated occupation must be listed in the ENS code. The ENS code 4-digit, blah blah blah, and subclass 457 or 482 was granted in relation to. So what does that mean? So a lot of people ask me, well, now they're using CISO now. What if my occupation is not in the current CISO? It was in the previous occupation. Now, don't worry about that. As long as you have been nominated and got your 457 or 482 visa, continue to work. For example, the cafe restaurant manager. Now, as long as you continue to work for 2 years and transfer into permanent residency as the same position, that means as a cafe restaurant manager, you'll be able to transfer into a permanent residence. Okay, so that's basically what it meant. All right, again, they talking about Skill Australian Fund. How many times they wanted to talk about the Skill Australian? Immigration just want money. That's all government wants. The applicant must be at the current sponsor. That's pretty straightforward. Now let's toggle that back to the applicant. So the applicant is required to have the skills, as the previous video we have explained it. So if they already done skill assessment, or probably don't want, because they should already got the 457 or 482 visa, so you're not required to do much. So I'm not too sure why they put this one here. Have the required, so you must have the required skill qualification needed to perform. We might ask you to do a skill assessment. Well, if you're already in the skill and you're already being approved under 482 and done a skill assessment, whatever that is, why will you need to do require skill? Or would you lose a skill within these 2 years? I'm not too sure. I think this is just doesn't make any sense. You already got the visa, you're working there. How would you not have the required skill? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense, because this is 186. That means people already working there. All right. If they put this one under the direct entry stream, then that will make sense, because they need to go through skill assessment. But they put it under temporary resident transition. I don't know. Anyway, it's redundant there. License, yes. That means, for example, why do they put this one here? Now again, if you already hold 482 visa, you may already have the skill. You may already have the right registration license. Now, for example, you may have done bad things. and you lost your license and you lost your registration, then during that time, if you lost it, at the time of trying to lodge a 186 visa, then you cannot get this visa. You know what I mean? So some profession does require registration and license to actually physically practice in Australia. So that's basically what it meant. So you may still have the skill, but you don't have the license. You see what I mean? All right. Be nominated by, I'll give you an example, just give you a really awkward one. For example, truck driver. I think truck driver require a license, right? You need to drive a driving license. Now that should really be under, not in TRT, but under labor agreement. But if the driver has been crazily done a lot of dangerous driving and got the license being taken away, then obviously you cannot get a PR then, because you're a dangerous driver. All right. Now, be nominated by employers who sponsor your temporary work visa. That's pretty straightforward. Now, there is a change of sponsorship and things like that, but there is coming up another change that as long as you're on the same occupation, you'll still be able to actually transfer under the TRT. So this is required to be changed, but currently, you still need to be at the same employer. Employment business, you must be nominated by the Australian. So that's the same thing as what we have just gone through on the sponsors side. Be at this age. Now, you got to be under 45 unless you are a scholar or you are, I think, scientists, somewhere researchers. That's right. Scientists, researchers, or doctors, medical doctors. Otherwise, you got to be under 45. If you're over 45, so a lot of people may ask, what if when I'm got my visa 482, I'm already 44? Now, that's the problem. You probably will think twice. Should you really work in Australia? Unless like that, you will require to find a job that's in regional under the labor agreement, because labor agreement will have relaxation on the age requirement. So then you can successfully transfer into 186. That's a permanent resident, even if you're over 45. Otherwise, you got to be under 45. So you're 44 and you got a job offer. Very, very good. And that's going to be in Melbourne, Sydney, or Brisbane. Well, bad luck, don't take it, because once you take it, you end up nowhere. All right, you end up nowhere. You don't get any permanent resident. The next visa you can get is another 482 visa. All right. Now, the English language you require to get competent. That means you got to have IELTS 6 across 4 bands. Now, I noticed that under 482 you only need 5. But I always recommend people to come with IELTS 6 whilst they are lodging 482 visa. So there's a no-brainer, because the validity of the IELTS is 3 years. Then you don't need to do anything else anymore, because you don't want to work full-time and after work you're trying to improve your English proficiency. That just doesn't really stack up. It's got to be very hard. You can do it, but it's got to be very hard, especially people working in the hospitality industry. Hospitality industry, usually you get employed at nighttime, right? People go on dinner, dine, lunchtime. Working hours is different, although they probably make more money whilst people having holiday, for example, Easter, Christmas, New Year's. But usually you work at nighttime, right? And you don't have energy or stamina to actually study or improve your English further. I'm not going to go through the health and character and the Australian value, because that's just very generic. You got to be a good person. You got to be healthy, fit, And so that's for the TRT. Now let's jump into the direct entry. So what's the difference? Direct entry does not require someone to actually hold a 482 visa for another 2 years. You can go direct, but there is a requirement. So if you read it right up here, it says you must have occupation list of the eligible skill occupation. So that's in CISO now. Okay, that's the core skill occupation list. We're gonna go through the CISO again. I've done a special video on CISO. You want to go in there to have a look. There are 456 occupations there. Have at least 3 years of relevant work experience, and that require to have a positive skill assessment. So different to the TRT stream. TRT, because you're already working whilst holding 482 visa, you don't need to test on your skills anymore. But for the 186 direct entry, you're required to go through skill assessment, and that skill assessment has to show a result that you have what 3 years of work related experiences in there. Now let's go into the sponsors first, and we go to the eligibility. Now sponsor just need to be a lawful operating business, you know, as usual. So this is exactly the same as the TRT's page, and have a skill occupation. Now that basically tells you to go into the core skill occupation list. Now let's toggle back and go to the applicants. So again, it's a little bit different. It says you have to see this one. This one is the exact identical duplication from the TRT, but it works better on the DE page because you get direct permanent residency. We don't have any, perhaps we do not have any evidence that you have been working in Australia previously. So you're required to have the skill assessed through the occupation. The occupation has to be in the core skill occupation list. And again, you need a license, all right? And you need to definitely, so the only differences, major differences here is you need to have a positive skill occupation, all right? You need to get that skill assessment done, okay? And you need to be nominated. That's just the same, you know. You get TRT, you got to be nominated as well. You must be nominated by an Australian employer. Be of this age. Again, it's the same. You got to be under 45 unless you're academic, so scholar, lecturer, or scientist or researcher, or I think medical doctor. Is it in here? I don't think it's actually in here. So medical doctor cannot go through direct entry. They need to, the only way they need to go through is the TRT stream, and the rest is the same. You gotta be healthy, character checks and things like that, competent English, that's all the same. So let's jump into the actual CISO currently. As you can see, it's just been listed on the 6th of December 2024, and they are 456. So if we're counting from here, 1 and down to the very bottom, should be correct. Oh, 456. That's correct. That right up there. Now, of course, I'm not going to go through and read out 456 of these occupations. You may want to check out by yourself. All you need to do is go into Google and punch in CISO. You should be able to find you this page. Now, the only main thing I wanted to mention is the column 3. There's a caveat on here. You may want to take a look. For example, if you take on the aquaculture farmer, there's a caveat 5. What you need to do is you scroll down the bottom. All right, and then you see those 5 here. It says the position predominantly involve responsibility of low skill task. For example, all these won't meet the requirement. That means you cannot be those kind of low skill occupations. And the say baker 10. If we go to 10 down here, it says cannot be under the standardized production, franchise factory, or fast food or things like that. So that's basically what they're trying to do. And a lot of people have a question in regards to a caveat 14. I think they're gonna do a adjustment on the wording. They already announced it. The caveat 14 reads, the position is not provided for under international trade obligation. Now, if we negate that, that means it has to be under international trade obligation. So I think they're gonna do some changes on that one, because the caveat 14 does apply to numbers of different occupation. For example, chef. I'm not too sure why they put chef for they have to be international obligation as a chef. I think they just need to delete that 14 there, because that just doesn't make any sense. So that's basically what it is. Now this video is a little bit lengthy because it covers the subclass 186, the employment nomination scheme visa for both TRT stream and the DE stream. And now I will do in the future, I will do a specific video on either TRT and DE just to clarify everything. But this is a generic updates for the subclass 186 visa with the new CSOL. Should you have more question query, more than welcome to leave comment right down below, and I see you next video. Goodbye.